playing RPGs and taking any amount of time away from an RPG, uh, trying to go back to it
Oh
is
yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah, I'm
And
playing two different games right now in the RPG genre, Final Fantasy 1
oh
and Dragon Quest 11, and the difference between those two games, even though on the surface they are almost identical in the way they play. Especially because I'm playing Dragon Quest 11 in 2D mode. But Dragon Quest XI, every time you boot up the game, it's like, here's a little story bit that will kind of give you a hint about what you were doing. And
yeah,
Final Fantasy One, it's like, you figure it out yourself. You're a big
yeah.
boy. Just do it.
What's it? You were outside this cave.
Yeah. You should remember. That should be enough
Yeah,
for you to
yeah.
remember what you were doing.
That's the yeah. You were there was a cave. You may who knows? You may have already been in the cave and you don't know.
Yeah.
You've forgotten.
Yeah, but like I stepped away from Dragon Quest XI for like 3 months, and I came back to it and just immediately remembered because of that little bitty thing at the very beginning when the game loaded. It was like, here you go. Here's what you were doing. Now
Yeah,
continue.
yeah. So like, they're going through all these things about like what would, what signifies like,
Mm,
making your game accessible. And like the last bullet point of that list is like, you know, when you load your last save, after a month, can you easily figure out where you were like when you left off or where
yeah,
you left off? And I started thinking like, you know, accessibility is not just easy mode. It's
that's
not
true.
just a special controller.
And that is
It's
definitely one of the things we're going to get in on the show. Is it just difficulty? Because that's what a lot of people focus on is the difficulty portion of accessibility. But there's so many more things that you've got to think about um,
yeah,
in terms of
and
how people can play it. The the physical form of the controller is an accessibility thing that you have to think about.
yeah, and that's another like I in like the about 30 or so minutes ago, I put in the Google Doc about the questions that Sony's new DualSense controller
Mm,
brought up about accessibility, like oh, the haptic triggers and the how it's
yeah,
the sensitivity and strength of the triggers and stuff can cause different things to happen in games. Like how is that going to make how is that going to affect people with uh can't think of the word now,
like
but
grip
just
strength issues and
yeah. So I think that like this is definitely going to be a fun topic,
if we're not
an
careful, this
interesting
is an
topic.
episode that we could go an hour, 2 hours on.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so we've got to pay attention to the time
yeah. That's
for
trying to
sure.
get it to 15 minutes.
Because it's one of
Uh,
those things that before the last couple of years, I never thought about. Even in terms
uh,
of just how are games accessible to me? Because there are things we'll talk about if I can remember during the show. Simple things that make a game playable or unplayable to me. It's one little click on a menu that if it's there, great. If it's not there, I can't play the game. Um,
yeah.
and then so I'm pushing. I've been one of online going and looking and following people that are doing nothing but talking about accessibility in games and making that push to make them more available to everybody.
Well, and that's I didn't even think about it. And I don't think I saw it in the Microsoft thing, but um, like the limitations that like VR
Mm-hmm.
creates for some people. Like, people can't play VR because one, either motion sickness, or two, like, wearing glasses.
Yeah,
Can't see anything without the glasses on. So, there's
yeah. People with vision in only one eye, where VR really needs that. At
yeah,
least currently, it needs that depth perception that you get from having two eyeballs
yeah,
in your head. So
yeah. But I don't know if we'll necessarily squeeze it in. I don't have any notes on VR. We could like briefly just be like, things that, you know, could still use advancements in
Mm-hmm.
various things like
Yeah.
VR, blah blah blah.
I'm sure this is
But
probably an episode that we'll talk about stuff now, and then in a couple months, 3 months down the road, maybe revisit it and bring somebody on the show that is a accessibility, not necessarily expert, but someone who deals with video game accessibility and get them to talk about it from someone who's actually dealing with that on a daily basis
yeah,
type perspective.